Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise with me and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. I'm going to offer the invocation. Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to have the opportunity to meet together now as friends and peers and as Americans and Canadians and all of us that are here today in this land of freedom. We're particularly grateful as we meet here in San Antonio as we gain a renewed appreciation for the freedoms that we have and those that have valued those things so highly and fought to secure them. As we now enjoy them, we pray that we may be, as a country and as a people, appreciative of these things and protect them and further their causes. As we meet together and try to further our abilities to provide for the living of ourselves and for those that work with us, we pray that those that present their programs and thoughts and ideas with us may be able to do so in a manner that they would be pleased to do it, and that we that listen will be able to understand and appreciate the value of those things. We ask you to please bless the activities that we'll be involved in the next few days, that we may enjoy thy protection and safety, and that friendship can continue to grow and bond strengthened. And these things we pray for now in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Stay tuned for Hank Parker's Outdoor Magazine, coming up next.
The house needs painting, the grass needs mowing, where's he at? He's gone fishing.
He really looked good in that shallow water, didn't he? Are you through? I'm not going to put up with that.
Look how small the mouth is, and then look. That's how healthy these fish are.
And that. I don't believe he'll make 12. It ain't shrimp.
And just ahead, Hank's Tip of the Week.
Hey, I tell you, no matter what you're fishing for, keep your eyes open for the birds. Fishing is for the birds. Coming up next, I'll tell you what I'm talking about.
It's out there. Strong, tough, agile, Bigfoot. From Big Old Tires.
Meet Martin and Jimbo, wildlife experts and one-time hosts of their own television series, Mutual of Yakima's Wild Safari. Right now, they're both out of the wild and out of work, but their luck may be changing.
See, what did I tell you, Marty? Bigfoot is out there.
Man, if we could bag that beast.
We'd be back on top.
Why, they'd be begging us to put Wild Safari back on the air.
I could jump out of helicopters on defenseless animals and rustle them to the ground. God, I miss that.
We could get a big insurance company to sponsor us. Why, money'd be no object.
And I could jump out of swamp boats on defenseless animals and wrestle them to the ground.
And I could be curator emeritus of a big-time zoo again. Of course, I'd never actually have to do the job because we'd always be off shooting Wild Safari.
And I could jump out of trucks on defenseless animals and wrestle them to the ground.
Yes, Jimbo. Once again, we could travel the globe, annoying and aggravating every known species of animal for the enjoyment of the children and adults in our vast television viewing audience.
Go ahead, Marty. Say it. I know you want to. What time is it?
It's Wild Safari time. Jimbo, pack us up while I check out this Bigfoot sighting. Hey, wait a minute. Big O, Bigfoot, coincidence?
I think not.
As Jimbo packed for our safari, I discovered that Big O was a major tire company headquartered in Denver. Now that made sense. Denver, mountains, Bigfoot. I knew I needed to go to the top, so I called and got the name of the big Bwana, a guy by the name of Steve Cloward. And then I cleverly hung up on him before we could be connected. It's important to stay downwind of your prey, not reveal your location. We would go to Denver and track this Cloward guy in his natural habitat. Let him lead us to Bigfoot. Jimbo, do you remember how I used to lead into the commercials, you know, saying things like, baby rhinoceroses need protection from the wild, and so do you. I think we ought to do something different for the new show, don't you?
I like it a lot, Marty.
Yeah. Maybe something like, maybe chimpanzees need protection from the wild, and so do you. I'll work on it. Okay, Jimbo, let's go track down this Cloward guy. Turn off the TV on your way out, will you?
How you like that, Stevie?
I like it, I like it, I like it.
Ain't
I
pretty?
liked it a little bit better if it had been...
I can't wait to hear what this Cloward guy's got to say.
We'd all like to hear what this Cloward guy has to say. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Big O President Steve Cloward.
Good morning, Big O. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to wonderful San Antonio. It's great to see so many friends and friendly faces again. I'm sure you're all anxious, just like Martin from Wild Safari, to hear what I've got to say. Not. But regardless, that'll have to wait a bit. We especially want to welcome you to the 35th Annual Big O Convention. A lot has happened during those 35 conventions, but each one continues to make a big impression, which is the theme for this year's event. You certainly make a big impression when you're assembled together, as you are here this morning. I can assure you we can and are looking forward to 3 days of fun and business. And hey, at Big O, business is fun anyway. From the river walk to seminar talk, we believe you'll leave with big and lasting impressions of your time here in San Antonio. Before deciding to bring our convention to Texas, we obviously conducted a little research and discovered some interesting things about Texans. I found this one really interesting. For instance, did you know that during Christmas time, children in Texas sit on Santa's lap and ask what he needs? Another Texan looking to make a big impression named his ranch the Running Lazy Z, Double Circle Crossing Trails Ranch. Damn near went out of business the first year. None of his cattle survived the branding. On a more serious note, it's my honor to introduce our first speaker this morning, Mr. Barry Robbins. He will really add something to this morning's presentation. At last count, about 30 minutes. We can only jest about the length of his talks because there is wisdom in his words. He's had an exceptional career in the tire business, first with Goodyear and now with TBC, having real-world experience in every aspect of the tire business, from supervising a group of retail stores to managing the introduction of the Goodyear Aquatred, a tire that revolutionized tire design. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Big O dealers, please welcome the Senior Vice President of Strategic Planning for TBC Corporation, Mr. Barry Robbins.
Thanks, Steve, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in San Antonio with you, the people who have made Big O so successful. Everyone at TBC Corporation is delighted with the relationship that has developed since we were officially united in July of 1996. As you see from the title of this morning's discussion, Growing Together, we at TBC are committed to your future success and growth. There are many TBC representatives here today, led by our President and CEO, Lou DePasqua. All of us look forward to spending time with you during the next few days. As most of you know, TBC Corporation is located in Memphis, Tennessee, so it's very natural for me to start with an Elvis phrase by saying thank you. Thank you very much for your business. On a more serious note, let me say that I am genuinely happy to be here. It's always a pleasure to be part of a Big O function, particularly in Bigfoot country. We recently held TBC's annual meeting in Naples, Florida. While we were there, I talked to our customers about the competition in the tire industry and the threat that all of us face from major manufacturers and their bundled brand programs. The manufacturers are using all of their muscle to sell their flag brands without consideration of the retailer's gross margins. We call this market share contest among major manufacturers the rumble in the jungle. And we showed how TBC is sensitive to the situation and attempting to design programs to make our customers successful. During our time together this morning, 3 subjects will be discussed. Part 1 will be an outline of TBC, a review of the company's history, performance, and future direction. Next, we will look at the tire industry with an emphasis on identifying key trends that are impacting all of us. Finally, we will discuss how we feel TBC and Big O will move forward to meet the challenges of tire retailing 98, 99, and into the 21st century. Like Big O, TBC has a long and rich history. The company was founded during 1956 in Dayton, Ohio, and was initially established as a private brand buying group. Cordovan was the original brand, with Multi-Mile and Sigma added during later years. Eventually, the company outgrew its buying group member status and rapidly expanded to the point that TBC became a public corporation in 1983 and is currently listed on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. As a private brand supplier, TBC's initial focus, which remains true today, was to place a premium upon customer service and market competitiveness. To help serve customers, a 1.3 million square foot warehousing complex was built in Memphis, Tennessee. And considerable effort has been spent building appropriate support systems. Today, TBC, with Big O's help, has grown to the point where together we are a major force in the market. This fact is documented when we examine TBC's sales performance. In 1980, our corporate sales amounted to $224 million. 17 years later, in a recently completed 1997, sales amounted to $643 million. Tire unit sales have also grown substantially since 1980 by over 250%. Significant growth by any standard. We mention these facts not to boast, but to demonstrate that TBC is dedicated to the tire market and has implemented strategies that have made the company successful. Well, enough about the past. Although the past is interesting and we are proud of our heritage, the key issue is what must be done to thrive in the future. We begin to understand future requirements when we understand the environment in which we're competing. Let's start by reviewing some key trends that are dramatically affecting the replacement tire industry, and which, in our opinion, are profoundly and permanently changing the competitive landscape. Businesses that continue to operate in the same manner during periods of change cannot remain successful. When technology, competition, and costs are changing, you must change. Well, that's the situation we find ourselves in. Changing market conditions have necessitated a strategic redirection of TBC as well as Big O. The redirection is in process and has both improved company results and made TBC a stronger partner for you, and will ensure Big O's continuing health. As Bob Dylan, during another volatile period over 30 years ago, said, "The times, they are a-changin'." There are a number of trends that we could discuss, but let's concentrate on what we see as the 6 characteristics of the tire industry that dictate what we must do if we're to grow and thrive. First industry trend is slow growth. As we'll document, the industry has been and will continue to be classified as slow growth. which puts a premium on improving efficiencies and identifying growth opportunities. Next is manufacturing consolidation, a trend that has resulted in sales concentration and has changed the environment and directly impacts you. A related trend in this industry that the economists refer to as an oligopoly is relatively low production capacity utilization. Quest for market share has resulted in a continuous and sometimes bizarre compulsion on the part of manufacturers to expand production capacity. As you might expect in an industry characterized by slow growth, excess production capacity, pricing pressure is a result. Channels of distribution are also changing. Sales at retail have become increasingly concentrated, with individual sellers having more outlets. This trend is key to you and makes expansion of the Big O system a competitive necessity. The final issue is the brand segmentation occurring in the industry, a segmentation that provides major opportunities for sellers of private brand products, brands the seller can control. Starting with the basics, the North American replacement tire market is a slow growth industry. Between 91 and 97, total tire sales for light vehicles, that is light trucks and automobiles, had a compound annual growth rate of 2.1%. Tires for light trucks grew by 3.5%, while the market for automobile tires grew by 1.9%. Referencing specific numbers, the consumer market grew from 188.7 million units in 93 to 209.1 in 97, an 11% gain. Auto tires comprise the bulk of this segment. However, their growth rate from 93 to 97 at 9% was less than the average. Light truck tires at a 24% growth rate grew at a far faster pace and represent one of your growth opportunities. The success of the Big O franchise concept is documented when we compare unit sales for the industry versus Big O's performance. Specifically, from 93 to 97, when consumer tire sales grew by 11%, Big O grew by 29%. You should all be proud of this performance. Within this slow growth industry, significant opportunities exist. For example, between 93 and 97, auto performance tires, that is H speed rating and higher, grew by 19%. This attractive growth rate was an important factor in TBC's decision to launch the Fulda brand and for Big O's decision to market Fulda performance tires. Two other segments achieving significant growth are light truck tires that grew by 21% and P-metric light truck, which grew by 33%. These data provide the rationale behind Big O's decision to aggressively expand light truck offerings and to feature the Bigfoot product lines. Another important trend is the complete wave of manufacturing consolidation that has occurred during the past 10 years. You all remember when the industry consisted of the 5 U.S.-based companies. Then the acquisitions began, and we found a series of parent-child relationships: Michelin Uniroyal Goodrich, Bridgestone Firestone, Continental General, Sumitomo Dunlop, Pirelli Armstrong, and even Yokohama Mohawk. Anyone looking back will reach the conclusion that the manufacturing consolidation has been immense and has permanently changed the environment. I ask each of you to think about how many of these new companies are dedicated to serving your needs rather than theirs, your brand rather than their brand. Well, what do you think? Manufacturing consolidation has resulted in sales concentration. When we examine the North American market, for example, Tire Business estimates that Goodyear has a 33% share, Mug 18%, Cooper 16%, and Bridgestone Firestone 15%. These 4 firms control 82% of the North American replacement market. The quest for market share has become fierce. As we said earlier, we refer to this contest as the rumble in the jungle. It's no secret that these 3 firms have identical objectives, namely number 1 market position for their company, and more importantly from your perspective, number 1 market position for their flag brand. That is why you see Michelin and Bridgestone offering bundled brand programs through their alliance and affiliated dealer programs. The very clear objective for both companies is to use bundled programs as a vehicle for increasing their flag brand share. Once again, you have to ask yourself, is it in my best interest to assist these companies in achieving their objective? I say to you, when manufacturers are attempting to sell brands they control, it is in your best interest to sell brands you control. A byproduct of the market share contest resulting from the rumble in the jungle is that industry capacity is underutilized. 1990 was a low point when 75% was used. However, even during 97, a relatively high year, the number was only 85%. If to reach any conclusions about the future, we have to factor in Bridgestone Firestone's recent decision to open a new factory. Yogi Berra might say, sounds like deja vu all over again. Industry retail pricing has been affected by the market share battle. Although retail tire prices increased by 1.6% in 95, they declined by 0.3% in 96 and an additional 0.9 during 97. Enough said about the supply side of the industry. Let's now take a look at some key trends with respect to how the product gets to the consumer. A long-term look at the industry reveals that tire dealers continue to represent the location of choice. Tire dealers account for about 60% of all tire sales, with mass merchandisers a distant second at roughly 20%, while a variety of other outlets account for 10% or less. Once again, if we look beyond the totals, we identify the single biggest change that has occurred. That is the evolution within the tire dealer segment. Historically, the largest single channel in the tire industry has been the small independent retailer. Today, they're still very important, accounting for about a third of the market, but their numbers have declined dramatically. In their place, we see multi-outlet retail chains, representing the fastest growing channel, nearly tripling in size during the past 10 years. As a result, today, there are 7,500 fewer small retailers than 10 years ago. In their place, we have multi-outlet local retailers, large regional chains, and in some cases, mega multi-regional chains. You know who these key retailers are, but let's quickly review their impact. Nearly 8,000 represents the number of outlets controlled by today's top 10 tire retailers. Among the group are the Bridgestone Firestone company-owned outlets, Walmart, Sears family, former Kmart, now operated by Penske, Goodyear company-owned, Pep Boys, Big O, Montgomery Ward, Discount Tire, and Les Schwab. Although these 10 retailers are the leaders, they're not unique. Today, 40 different tire retailers have at least 40 outlets. This consolidation of retail power has dramatically altered competitive landscape. Since we're discussing where consumers purchase tires, I thought it'd be helpful to review some key consumer buying behavior trends that directly impact every Big O outlet. Collectively, these trends will document that consumers are searching for a reliable outlet that will simplify their shopping experience. They're searching for an outlet they can trust. A change that has greatly influenced buying behavior is the significant increase of dual-income families. Today, over 60% of married women are working outside the home. As a result of the increase in dual-income households is that increasingly people feel they have less time to shop. 2/3 of dual-income households say they have less time to shop than they did 5 years ago. This fact is borne out when tire consumers are asked how long they spent in completing the tire purchasing process. In 1985, only 27% they completed the whole process in 1 day. Today, 51% indicate from the time of need awareness until tire installation, the process took 1 day. Because of rising incomes and stable tire prices, the tire purchase results in less strain on the family budget. Today, the average person works 3.7 days to pay for a set of tires, half as long as in 1980. As a result of consumers having less time and the purchase having less impact on the family budget, increasingly, consumers are saying that the outlet is the single most important consideration for the decision, while far less consumers are indicating that price is the most important factor. This fact puts an increasing value on the benefit of belonging to the Big O system. As we are able to communicate on a larger scale to consumers that Big O is different, we will all reap the benefits. The final industry trend we will discuss is the brand segmentation that exists in the industry. If we divide the industry into two major segments, major brands, and these are the flag brands of the manufacturers, and all other, we see that the all other segment is slightly larger than the major brand segment, accounting for about 52% of the market. This is good news for you because it points out that both consumers and retailers desire brand diversity. Despite the fact that 4 manufacturers account for 82% of sales, brand diversity remains alive. For example, Merrill Lynch estimates that 37 brands have measurable market share. Yes, the familiar names such as Goodyear, Firestone, Michelin, Goodrich, and Bridgestone are among the leaders, but also Multi-Mile, one of TBC's brands, is listed among the top 10, ahead of such well-known names as Uniroyal, Dunlop, and Pirelli. The Big O brand is also a proud member of the list. The conclusion you must reach is that if a brand includes such friendly attributes as differentiation, quality, warranty, a reasonable selling price, and retail support, consumers will welcome this brand. We indeed feel that TBC can assist you in winning the rumble in the jungle. The rest of this morning we'll spend talking about the future and how TBC's been preparing for our mutual success. As you know, preparing for the future requires a vision, and sometimes the crystal ball gets cloudy. For example, I think that if we interviewed the following people today, they would admit that their crystal ball was not only cloudy, it was shattered. How about the Decca recording executive who rejected the Beatles, saying we don't like their sound and guitar music's on the way out? Or H.M. Warner, founder of Warner Brothers, when he said, who the hell wants to hear actors talk? Or Henry Ford II when he prophesied that the Edsels here to stay. Or the manager of the Grand Ole Opry when he told Elvis Presley, you ain't going nowhere, son. And finally, our technical visionary, Ken Olsen, chairman of Digital Equipment, when he said there's no reason anyone would want a computer in their home. The one thing I can assure you is that our vision is clearer than those we've just reviewed. Let's start with TBC's mission. We carefully chose a mission statement that reads as follows: provide our customers programs with the highest profit potential in the North American replacement tire market. At the same time, provide the product lineup and support systems necessary to ensure #1 market share in the segments we serve. The words were chosen carefully. They indicate that in order for us to compete with the major brands, we have to provide better gross profit opportunities, that the market we participate in is North American tires, and that we need to maintain #1 market share in the segments where we compete in order to develop the necessary economies of scale. In conjunction with our mission statement, we developed a strategy that remains the guiding principle behind our behavior. Recently, we reviewed our strategy with Wall Street analysts. Here's what we said. The key elements of TBC's strategy are first to maintain a tire focus. This principle dictates our product priorities. Secondly, we will strengthen the core business, protecting our #1 market share position, communicating to everyone that TBC's core business remains a priority for everyone at TBC. The third principle is that we will achieve growth primarily through retail expansion with an emphasis on Big O and future retail acquisitions. Let me repeat, one of TBC's key principles is to grow through Big O. The primary principle that will dictate our future success is this element of growth. Growth is not only desirable, it's essential. It has become a competitive necessity. The reasons are many, but let me concentrate on 3 areas. First, we need a critical mass in order to maintain healthy and mutually advantageous relationships with our suppliers. A second reason is that it's a requirement for financial strength, the strength that will allow continuing investment in an increasingly capital-intensive industry. Finally, growth is a necessity if we are to maintain the required economies of scale that will allow us to take advantage of efficiencies with respect to such things as advertising, training, point-of-sale systems, product distribution, and the like. We see the benefits of growth demonstrated when we examine what has happened since July of '96. We've developed strategic alliances and entered into long-term agreements with Kelly, Springfield, and Cooper. And these alliances allow TBC&U to maintain a competitive advantage with respect to product cost, differentiation, and supply consistency. When I discussed the benefits that derive from growth, I mentioned that financial strength and the resulting economies of scale will provide a competitive advantage. The validity of this statement is demonstrated by the commitment that TBC has made to Big O. This commitment has already begun, specifically new product activity, improved pricing, investment in expansion and systems development, including the vitally important product distribution system. One of the most visible demonstrations of strong working relationships with suppliers is the level of new product activity. By this measure, the progress we've made in the past 18 months is staggering. Let's take a look at the new product activity, starting with Big O brand auto tires. In the past 18 months, 5 new Big O auto tire lines have been introduced. The Sun Valley Radial is a new tread design. The Euro Tour has a new tread design that has been finalized and will be in production during the third quarter. Legacy TMR, Euro SR, and Legacy Tour Plus H all have new tread designs. The progress for the Big O brand light truck tire line has been even more impressive. The Bigfoot AT Dual Groove has a new tread design, as does the Bigfoot AT Conventional and Bigfoot AP. The Bigfoot XT has been changed to the MT and has a new sidewall design. The new Bigfoot XT comes with a new tread design, as does the new Bigfoot CT. Finally, the Big Haul Radial is now known as the new Bigfoot HT and has a new sidewall design. In total, therefore, we have 7 new Big O brand light truck tires, in addition to the 5 new auto tire lines that we previously mentioned. But the story's not over. We've also introduced 4 new Prestige brand lines. We've also introduced new non-exclusive Pacemark S line, which you'll have available to sell in 1998. We have also brought you new, more competitive entry-line products with the custom SBR, Nankang Metric, Hankook Ventus Plus 4, and the Nankang Bescanar. Finally, we have brought you the 2 new folded lines in the Assuro and the Extremo. The totality of this new product activity is certainly impressive and might even be unprecedented. During the past 18 months, 23 new product lines have been introduced, a pace faster than 1 new line per month. In addition to new products, pricing changes have also been implemented, changes that have been geared to making you more competitive. Between December 96 and 97, prices for Big O branded products were reduced on average 6.5%. For the full year, comparing 97 with 96, pricing for the entry-level advertiser lines been reduced by slightly over 6%. These reductions greatly exceeded the industry decline in retail pricing, which, as you recall, was less than 1%. Still, another indication of the benefit that TBC brings to Big O is our investment capability. In '98, Big O will provide a supplemental promotional plan of approximately $1 million to further develop the Big O and Bigfoot identities. TBC will provide $650,000 towards this effort. We've also made a substantial investment to improve Big O's technology infrastructure, changes that are currently underway. Expansion is also a key element of our company's overall strategy and essential for a healthy and growing Big O market presence. In that regard, I'm happy to report that Big O's expansion plans are on track and they're aggressive. Specifically, at year-end 1996, there were 395 Big O outlets. Today, there's 415. By the end of this year, we expect 443, and by the end of this 5-year period, we've targeted 575 Big O outlets. When expanding a retail chain as rapidly as we're expanding Big O, it's critical that we continue to match quality franchisees with quality retail locations. With this in mind, we look to several different sources to find quality franchisees. The first and most important is our traditional recruitment among existing franchisees and prospective entrepreneurs. A second newly tapped source is the conversion of existing small independent tire retailers. What we found is that many small independent retailers need the support system that Big O provides. And during the fourth quarter of 1997, 8 independent retailers converted their operations to the Big O system. The final exciting new growth opportunity is represented by a pending agreement between TBC and an existing TBC distributor to jointly open new Big O outlets. The final TBC commitment that I'd like to discuss this morning is our pledge to improve the current product distribution system. In July of '96, when our relationship began, Big O's product distribution system consisted of 3 entities: Boise, New Albany, and Henderson. Over time, it became apparent that we were unable to adequately serve your needs with this system. Since then, Big O has opened a supplementary product distribution system that is called Big O Express, with 5 facilities located in Denver, Mesa, and Corona, Sacramento, and Concord, California. The addition of these facilities has improved service, and the feedback that we receive has been universally positive. They are, however, not the permanent solution. We currently are evaluating the entire product distribution system, and you can expect improvements during 1998. Hopefully, each of you are satisfied with the progress we've made during the past 18 months. It's been an exciting period, but the future looks even more promising. I started this morning by thanking all of you for your business. I hope you're convinced that TBC is sensitive to your needs and will do everything in our power to make the Big O system not only successful, but the industry standard. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John Adams.
Good morning, y'all. Hey, Barry, we'd like to thank you for those updates on the industry trends and TBC's strategies on how we're going to attack our competitors. Well, the future ain't what it used to be. Yogi Berra said that, as usual, with his own unique turn of a phrase. And for today's businesses, it's really true. I was reading an article recently that listed the Fortune 500 companies from 1906 and the Fortune 500 companies today. 43% of the 1906 companies no longer exist. Now, not all of them went out of business, of course. Some merged with or were purchased by other companies. But most of them are simply gone. They didn't react to changes in their marketplace. They didn't take advantage of emerging technologies. And for them, their futures weren't what they used to be. But I prefer another quote, this one from President Franklin Roosevelt. Never before have we had so little time in which to do so much. Now, I'm sure we can all relate to this on a personal basis, but from a business perspective, our competitors are striving to take away our market share every day. To counteract that, we are working to achieve a future that will secure our position as a vital, profitable, growing tire company well into the 21st century. Let me tell you some of the things that we're doing. First, we've made a major commitment to improving our distribution. In fact, we just hired a new Vice President of Finance, Peter McDonald, who officially starts with us on March 1st. This new hire will allow me to focus my attention full-time on distribution issues. Now, we're still in the planning stages in many areas, but one thing that we do know, Big O Express warehouses, or boxes, are a huge success. Everywhere that we have boxes, stores see improved supply and better store profitability. Better store profitability. Now, I think that's something that makes a big impression on all of us. This tells us that the closer that we have inventory to the stores, and by extension, the closer to our customers, the better off everyone is. So we're looking at ways to expand our distribution. But in today's world, distribution is more than just moving a tire from a warehouse to your store. It also means information that's readily available and easy to use. As this slide from USA Today shows, our mechanics are using the internet for everything from weather reports to diagnostics. With so much information in so many hands, we have to take maximum advantage of technology to make us more competitive and more responsive to customer needs. As the first step in our distribution system, we have to have a point-of-sale system in your stores that allows market information to be sent directly from your store to our warehouses. Our system must allow the stores to generate orders overnight, ensuring that inventory levels will always be maintained. In fact, with this system, it will never be necessary for Big O to dial into your store system. Your computers will do it all automatically. Another example of how we're going to put technology to work is the issuance of electronic adjustment credits. Now, you may have heard me talk about this one before. While you're issuing the credit to your customer, your POS system will accumulate the necessary information to transmit to us so credit can be issued within 24 hours. Of course, you'll need to follow up by sending the tires and the paperwork, and then if any further adjustments need to be made, we can do that at a later date. The big news is we're also working with Microsoft to complete Big O Net, our Big O dealer-only intranet site. Now, this is a longer-term project that will be evolving over the next few years. You might ask, what's the purpose? It's to simplify life for all of us. Big O Net will allow you to check our inventory levels, pricing, and even your own store credit information. There'll be no more waiting to check distribution center inventory levels. Inventory levels will be updated nightly, providing new stocking levels each morning. You'll be able to tell customers immediately about the availability of tires with just a few keystrokes. The only time you'll still need to call is if inventory on a particular SKU is low. You want to make sure that we haven't already sold those units. You'll be able to download price changes, both dealer cost and nationally recommended retail price. Eventually, you'll have access to your own credit information. If you want to see how we apply to check against invoices, no problem. Just point and click. But remember, your account's information will be totally secure, accessible only by you. Another convenient feature of Big O Net will be forms and manuals that you'll be able to access and download. For instance, if you need a standard lease or sublease agreement, instead of trying to find one at the local supply store, you can just download it. Now, of course, this isn't a substitute for legal advice, but these are acceptable forms that can be used for many types of transactions. Other features that we'll eventually want to add will be training materials and corporate information. Perhaps we'll even be able to get Mitchell On Demand onto the site. And for those who want to talk to Steve directly, email. Of course, sometimes that might be a one-way conversation. Sorry, Steve. Let's take a look at what that might look like. As you can see on this first slide, we'll be able to tie into some of our promotional activities. In this case, the Top Gun promotion for this year. In this particular frame, is designed to show that the information will be credits or will be secure for your site only with your own logon and password. Of course, one of the things that we'll want to do is, as we've had many requests, is tie in with a special of the day or marketing specials to give you better profit opportunities. We'll then go into inventory and ordering, price information, accounts receivable information, some of the training activities that we can take advantage of, corporate information, and of course email. As you can see, these changes in distribution and technology will help us enter a new era of efficiency, service, and profitability. Someone once said, "Some succeed because they are destined to, but most succeed because they are determined to. John Wooden, the legendary UCLA basketball coach, invented the fast break offense. But until his team got this perfected, he had a terrible time with turnovers. Today, virtually every college and professional basketball team uses the fast break offense, and UCLA, under Wooden, won 10 national championships in 12 years. To be this successful certainly required determination. I'm not sure if we're destined to succeed, but I'm here to tell you that we are determined to succeed. You know the kind of competition we face today. One of our toughest competitors, who'll go unnamed, doesn't have warehouses, so they compete very tough on price because their systems are so strong. Now, that's not the route that we're going, but we are determined to make our distribution and our systems so strong and efficient that we'll be able to compete effectively on both price and customer service. In 1960, John Kennedy issued a challenge to the country to put a man on the moon by 1970. Now, he knew two things when he made that impossible challenge. One, he'd definitely be out of office by 1970. But two, vision focuses energy. Our challenge today is to collectively redevelop the Big O distribution system. That's right, I said our challenge, because in today's competitive environment, we have to work together jointly to solve your problems while solving our own. Your management at TBC Big O recognizes this and has taken action. Now it's up to us to see that action through to a successful completion. To accomplish that, I need your help, your input, and your commitment. I hope you're willing to accept this challenge to remake our distribution system for the 21st century. I am. I'm looking forward to working closely with each and every one of you to achieve this goal. Thank you.
Baby giraffes need protection. No, that's not quite it. Let's see. Baby wildebeest need protection.
Denver.
The lair of the elusive Cloward. And we hope his friend Bigfoot.
All right, Marty, what's our plan? Do I jump on this Cloward guy, wrestle him to the ground, and stuff him in a gunny sack?
No, Jimbo, no. Look, we'll move by stealth, silently like a gentle breeze, blending in with our surroundings and trusting our heightened senses of sight and smell. If that doesn't work, we'll ask the receptionist where he's at.
Martin, you're the master.
Bigfoot's here, Jimbo. I can feel it. All right, Jimbo. Locate Cloward, but stay out of sight. Observe only, behind a rock or something. We don't want to spook him.
Right, will do.
What's the gunny sack for?
You just never know, Marty.
May I help you?
Right, where would I find Mr. Cloward, Mr. Steve Cloward?
Mr. Cloward's not here, sir.
Well, this is his natural habitat. I mean, his office.
Mr. Cloward's in San Antonio for a convention. What's in the bag?
What bag?
The big gunny sack?
Oh, that bag. It's my lunch.
A big eater.
Crikey, what am I going to do now?
Hi, Mr. Big.
What am I going to tell Martin?
Are you off to the grand opening?
Well, I wouldn't give to know what Bigfoot is doing right now.
Too bad you're not in San Antonio with us, Jimbo. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Steve Cloward.
Good morning again. As most of you know, the primary purpose of my presentation. At our conventions is to address the state of the company. That is to give you a bird's eye view of how things have gone in the prior year and what we can expect for the year that lies ahead. Well, 1997 was a good year. No, I'll strike that. It was a great year and a very successful year. Of course, there are a lot of different ways to measure success. For instance, sometimes you can tell how successful a company is just by the number and type of people who want to work there. That's certainly the case at Big O. We get resumes from all over the country from people who work on all kinds of different jobs. Some of them are quite impressive. I brought an example of one that I thought I'd share with you. This one comes all the way to us from Washington, D.C. It's from a young woman by the name of Monica, here it is, Monica Lewinsky. Anyway, talk about impressive credentials. Just listen to these. According to her resume, she held several unique positions in the White House. Worked in close contact with the president and was available to him on a 24-hour basis. As I said, this is obviously someone who's been around the block a time or two. But even more impressive than the resume was this attached letter of recommendation from none other than the President of the United States. Let me read to you just a little bit of that. To whom it may concern, Monica has performed extremely well under me in the Oval Office. Not to mention the West Wing, the White House kitchen, and aboard Air Force One. I would recommend her for any position you have in mind. I found her to be flexible, enthusiastic, and willing to handle anything I put in front of her. Sincerely, William Jefferson Clinton. You know, this whole White House sex scandal has really gotten to be something. But I think there's hope on the horizon. For instance, a recent survey of women working for the federal government in Washington, when asked if they would sleep with the president, it's encouraging that nearly 8 out of 10 said not again. At least now I understand why they have all those mattress cells around President's Day. Okay. Now that I've got that out of my system, let's get down to business. It's been a great 12 months for Big O Tires. Last year's convention marked the beginning of a new era for this company's history, an era that will be characterized by strong growth in earnings, both for Big O and, more importantly, for the dealers. Let's take a quick look back at some of the key points that were made at last year's convention and see how they look now that another year has passed. Probably the single most important sentence in my presentation last year was this: for the first time in nearly 3 years, the immediate future of our company is not in question. Well, a year later, I can say with confidence that not only is our future not in question, it's brighter than ever. We've never been stronger. We've never been more profitable. We've never had better products to sell. We've never grown so fast. And we've never had so much potential. 1997 showed us what this organization is capable of when we're able to escape outside distractions and focus on the fundamentals that made Big O strong in the first place. And that focus to the financial strength and resources brought to bear by TBC, the only questions still unanswered about our future are ones like how far, how fast, and who wants to come along for the ride. Another important point from last year's convention was made by Kelly O'Reilly. She told you we needed to, quote, sharpen our performance in product design and quality and provide you with new marketing programs to help us recapture and build upon our Big O brand customer inventory. That seemingly simple statement actually represented a very ambitious goal Took us over a year, but as Barry just summarized for you, we are nearing completion of that goal. When the new Euro Tour 70 and 75 series lines are shipped in August, we will have introduced a total of 23 new tire lines, with the first 21 coming in just the first 18 months. In this industry, that kind of accomplishment is nothing short of amazing. Between new product availability and your renewed emphasis on exclusive product, Big O brand sales took a very positive swing in the fourth quarter. And we're confident that that momentum will carry us forward in 1998. As I said, 23 tire lines in 18 months is impressive. But what's most impressive is the fact that the majority of those new products were developed and brought to market as a direct result of your feedback. Think about that for a moment. Think about how unusual it is for a small retailer to have so much say in the choice of products they carry. It's almost unheard of. Yet it's a concept that is at the very heart of the Big O system. We want to know what you're seeing in the marketplace. We want to know how you feel about the products. We want to know what your customers want. And do you know why? Because we honestly believe that you are the best judge of what will make you successful. And when you're successful, we're successful. Let me give you a few examples of how we acted on your feedback, utilizing the forums of our various meetings and sometimes a 6-pound sledgehammer. You brought to our attention the irregular wear patterns of the Bigfoot AT. We responded with the new dual groove and the conventional AT tread designs, which are now jumping off the shelf. You told us the Sun Valley 6 wasn't performing to your expectations, so we introduced the new and improved Sun Valley Radial in September. Initial feedback suggests that we've solved the problems inherent in the old design. You made some less than complimentary comments about the Brazilian-produced Euro SR. A couple of you even suggested putting that particular tire in a place that would hurt immensely. Well, that's one suggestion we didn't take, but we did move to introduce the new Euro SR, a tire that looks amazingly like our old Premium Legacy TMR, but at a much more attractive price. We call that more for less. You told us you wanted a new dual groove H-rated performance tire. Wasn't available until TBC came in and added its power to our partnership. Now it's in the line and selling well. These are just a few of the examples of how dealer input, coupled with Big O TBC partnership, continues to play a crucial role in the development of our new and improved product offerings. In fact, if I hadn't already said it clearly enough, let me say it again. It is your input that is the primary factor in determining what products we bring to market. The new Bigfoot XT, CT, and HT light truck tires, for example. They represent our effort to give you a better fit for an important application in the bit that we felt the Big O line was missing. We've also worked hard to provide you with other products you need for a complete marketing package. As Barry mentioned, the Prestige line, the Pacemark line, the Folda program. We've added hand-cooked V and Z speed-rated products. We threw in the Nankang metric and low-cost H products. Collectively, we have built the most comprehensive product lineup this system has ever seen. We're sewing up the holes in our product net, meaning fewer and fewer potential customers will slip through. And if the strong sales of the fourth quarter are any indication, we're starting to see the results in a very positive way. While Big O continues to build and strengthen our line with long-term commitments with manufacturers like Kelly, other private brand suppliers like Reliable, Madison, Delta, and National were receiving word that as of January 1st, 1999, Michelin no longer wants their business and will cease production of their tire lines. Another important announcement we made at last year's convention concerned our commitment to taking full advantage of our Bigfoot trademark. As Kelly said during her presentation, we think that our Big O Foot trademark is our strongest name and that it has been underdeveloped. We're not just selling a tire, Kelly said, we're selling an image. To fulfill that commitment, I challenged Kelly and her team to create a program that would enhance the market value of Bigfoot and make it a brand that is known and sought out by light truck enthusiasts across the regions in which Big O operates. The result was Bigfoot Country. Even in its early stages, this aggressive program is proving to be one of the most powerful marketing themes we've ever created. Coupled with the new and redesigned products that carry the Bigfoot name, the Bigfoot Country program puts us in the position to grab a bigger share of the light truck market segment, a segment that continues to expand at an incredible pace. I don't believe we take a backseat to any brand, marketer, or manufacturer in the industry. In fact, if they made a movie starring Bigfoot, they'd have to rename the recent movie starring Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt, because this tire really deserves the title, As Good as It Gets. My final reflection on last year's convention involves the Make You More program. We introduced the program in August of '96 with the intent to increase your gross profits. That's just what the program has done. Virtually every dealer in the system has seen an increase in their gross profits. And for many, 1997 was the most profitable year in their history. And even though we need a more favorable Big O brand mix in order for the corporation to see that kind of benefit to the program, nonetheless, we're going to stick with it. We're confident that as we continue to focus on the fundamentals through 1998, you'll look to boost your profits by stepping your customers up to Big O, creating a win-win situation for both the dealer network and the company. There's no doubt about it. We made some impressive strides in 1997. But how well did our new product offerings and marketing programs translate into improved tire unit sales? I'm glad you asked. Total new tire units sold in 1997 came to just over 2,453,000 units. That represents an increase of almost 240,000 units, or 10.7% over 1996. 10.7% compared to an industry increase of approximately 3%. I call that impressive. I call it progress. I call it teamwork, and I call it a giant step in the right direction. As I said earlier, 1997 showed us what this organization is capable of when we're able to focus on the fundamentals. Speaking of fundamentals, I'd now like to spend a few minutes talking about some of the fundamental trends taking shape across the retail marketplace as we approach the 21st century. Information is power, as John indicated. And in retailing, information is the power to make more profits. To be aware of and understand the latest trends is to be in the position to turn them into a competitive advantage. Incidentally, the trends I'm going to be focusing on here were published in a special report written by a retailing expert, Gary Wright, entitled Retail Trends 1997. Let's take a look. Trend number one, the polarization of retailing. On the one hand, mass market retailers are achieving success by taking advantage of efficiencies of scale and making low price the principal selling proposition. On the other hand, niche marketers are achieving success with a selling proposition that focuses on service, quality, and a unique product selection. The result is an increasingly polarized retail spectrum. Price on the one end, services, quality, and uniqueness on the other. So which of these positions defines and benefits Big O? We feel the answer is both. Big O is one of the few retail organizations in the world that can benefit from the efficiencies of scale and high-volume buying power that comes with a national presence, yet maintains the image of boutique-style outlets selling superior service, quality, and unique products. Trend number two, the proliferation of private label retailing. Why? Mr. Wright points out that it's because private labeling helps prevent price comparison. It also allows retailers to preserve margins, and it gives them a means to differentiate themselves on something other than price. Sound familiar? I think maybe the author of this report has a copy of the Big O Blue Book. The ability to differentiate yourself from the competition is exactly what the founding fathers of Big O had in mind when they created Big O. And there's more interesting information in this report. Listen to trend number three, the emergence of store branding as a competitive strategy. Again, this is a strategy right out of the Big O Blue Book. According to Gary Wright, the goal is to make the name of your store more prominent in the mind of the consumer than any particular brand you might carry. Mr. Wright goes on to suggest that perhaps the strongest way to build the brand identity of a store is to use the same name for both the store and its flagship line of merchandise. Hello? Long before there was the Gap and Gap jeans, there was Big O and Big O brand tires. So what do these trends tell us? Well, for one thing, they tell us that Big O is a trendsetter and always has been. But they also tell us that more and more of our competitors are catching on and following in our footsteps. We can't take anything for granted, a fact made evident in a final trend mentioned in this report called relationship marketing. Basically, relationship marketing involves finding ways to communicate one-on-one with the customer. This means every customer situation represents a relationship marketing opportunity. The sales situation, a service situation, direct mail, telephone contact, anything that puts one of your employees in personal communication with a customer. Of course, every retailer has the opportunity to practice relationship marketing. The question is, how well do you do it? The goal is to develop a competitor-proof bond with a customer, and that's not something that just happens. You need to work at it. You need to train your people to work at it. Relationship marketing is a simple, no-cost program that completely sets us apart from the warehouse clubs, where interaction is next to non-existent. And more the same is true with merchants like Sears and Pep Boys and other large chains. The larger they become, the harder it is to find managers and salespeople who can create that bond that Gary Wright is speaking of. How your people interact with your customers can either be your biggest competitive advantage or your biggest competitive disadvantage. Which leads me to my next point: building your business and the economics of customer loyalty. Let me cut right to the chase on this one. As an organization, we get far too many customer complaints. Each one represents a dissatisfied customer, a customer who is most likely voicing their story to anyone who will listen. And when it comes to stories of distrust involving this industry, there are many willing listeners. In Big O's Blue Book for Success, we refer to the results of studies done on this exact issue. These studies show that a typical satisfied customer may tell as many as 5 acquaintances of that positive experience. Not bad, but here's the catch. The typical dissatisfied customer, one who feels betrayed or offended, may tell as many as 20 people about that poor experience. Your goal as an independent Big O operator is to grow what Uncle Tom Staker referred to as customer inventory. He indicated that inventory was like a bank account. As long as you deposit more than you withdraw, your balance increases. It's interesting to note that the higher the volume of the Big O store in our system, the fewer the customer complaints we get. There's a very clear message there. Now, I know that it's a popular notion in contemporary business that there's no such thing as customer loyalty anymore. But that's not true. There are plenty of Big O dealers out there proving it every day. How else do you explain the success of dealers like Larry Thiessen and Kevin Brooks with sales of more than $2 million within 2 years in the town of Basalt? $2 million this year after having been open only 2 years. And in a town with a population of 1,200 people. I mean, do the math. They got to be selling the tires to pet dogs in that town. You better believe their team is generating some serious customer loyalty through relationship marketing. But again, as an organization, we can do better. In fact, we've got to do better. The economics of business demand that we do better. There's another fascinating research study and resulting article entitled "Why Satisfied Customers Defect." This was published in the Harvard Business Review. In it, authors Thomas Jones and W. Earl Sasser discovered some incredibly important facts concerning your business. For example, they indicate, except in a few instances, complete customer satisfaction is the key to securing customer loyalty and generating superior long-term financial performance. They go on to indicate that in highly competitive environments where the competition is intense, there is a tremendous difference between the loyalty of merely satisfied versus completely satisfied customers. We would prefer to categorize the difference as customer satisfaction versus customer delight. They found that completely satisfied or delighted customers are to a surprising degree much more loyal than your satisfied customers. So how important is loyalty? Consider this. Loyal customers stay longer. They buy more. They refer us to others. They are less price sensitive. They provide free advertising. In other words, a loyal customer is worth far more to your business than just the next sale. Take a look at this graph showing why annual profits increase through the term of that customer's relationship. The relationship actually begins with a cost rather than a profit. The acquisition cost of creating the sales opportunity, a cost related to advertising, promotion, or just the cost of doing business. Once you make the first sale, there is a base profit. And throughout the term of the relationship, the profits pile up. There's additional profit from referrals because they send others to your store. There's additional profit from increased purchases because they buy more. There's additional profit from price premiums because they buy products that you recommend. And there's additional profit from reduced operating costs because you don't have the marketing costs associated with bringing in the new customers in the first place. Remember, every time you lose a customer, it's back to square one, starting with the out-of-pocket acquisition cost. In a study conducted by Xerox, it was determined that totally satisfied or delighted customers were 6 times more likely to purchase products over the next 18 months than customers who were just satisfied. 6 times more likely. The implications were profound. Merely satisfying customers who have the freedom to make choices is not enough to keep them loyal. The only truly loyal customers are totally delighted customers. Now, regardless of how much effort you put forth in delighting those customers, there are going to be times when something goes wrong. The customer becomes dissatisfied enough to complain to you, or in some cases, directly to us. Treating customers exceptionally well does not merely mean treating them well when everything basically goes right. It also means treating them exceptionally well when something goes wrong. The 2 researchers that I mentioned earlier put it this way. If a company excels in making amends, taking care of the problem, when such failures occur, customers' faith in the company is not just restored, it is deepened, and they become apostles, spreading the good word about the company to potential customers. Failure to handle the situation creates a defector, and the worst of these can go on to become something even more dangerous to your business, a terrorist. These are the customers who have had a bad experience and can't wait to tell others about their anger and their frustration. With each telling, their stories grow in intensity, and the actual facts become increasingly distorted. The article goes on to state a fact that we know from other research, and that is that terrorists are generally far more committed and hence more effective at telling their stories than apostles. Do you know what's so interesting about all this to me? It's the fact that it indicates that the elusive growth we're all after isn't necessarily out there sitting in a competitor's store. It's right there in our own store. It shows the danger of being so busy trying to bring in new customers that we aren't taking adequate care of our existing ones. And that's a real mistake, because customer loyalty represents the most vital growth potential available to us. Really all comes down to this. If you're going to beat the competition, and you must in order to survive, you must gain a competitive advantage. How will you do it? Well, you won't necessarily do it with a bigger building or with a lower price. You'll need more than bigger selections and more advertising. When it comes to gaining the competitive advantage you need, you'll do it with unique products, you'll do it with unique marketing programs, and most importantly, you'll do it by providing unequaled service and winning your customers' loyalty through customer delight. I guess Uncle Tom and the rest of the Founding Fathers must have had some kind of crystal ball themselves, because those are the exact principles they wrote into the first edition of the Blue Book nearly 30 years ago. One of Uncle Tom's favorite and most often repeated quotes, still used by his peers today, was, "Hey, I don't make the rules. That's just the way it is." Well, he may not have written the rules, but he sure understood them. And as we strive to carry on with that tradition, we look forward to a great 1998. Thank you.
As Jimbo made his way back to the truck, I could tell by his body language that our search for Bigfoot might be over almost before it began.
Ah, damn, he's not there. What do we do now?
Well, we'll just have to do what we always do. We'll have to use our experience, our intuition, everything we've ever learned.
Bigfoot continues to make big impressions all over the country this week. We now have a report that Bigfoot may be seen right here in the Denver area. Ron Lotzenheiser, a Big O executive, has tentatively confirmed the possibility of a definite rumor that Bigfoot may be sighted at a Big O store opening this afternoon.
And we can listen to the radio. Let's go.
Not quite yet.
I'm sure Jimbo will free himself any minute now. When he does, we will make our way with great expectation to the expected sighting of Bigfoot at the new Big O Tire Store. In the meantime, I'm going to get a cup of coffee. Why don't you do the same? See you shortly.